everybody. Hi. Yay. Welcome back. So happy to see you. We have the best community. You guys are always here. You show up. This is a fabulous crowd. Thank you so much for doing this together, being a part of the church experiment. We're so grateful for you. I think you all know who I am, right? I'm Sherry. I'm not saying that to be obnoxious. I'm saying because I don't need to go through the particulars. Is it obnoxious? Sorry, Erling. I was actually intending to put the focus on Fulton Leroy Washington, who is also known as Mr. Wash. Yes, you can please clap for him. And Mr. Wash is part of our current fabulous cohort of residents. I tend to say that every 2 or 3 weeks, but it is always true. And we have 4 incredible artists, makers with us right now, and you've gotten a taste. Some of you might have come. Last night we presented the work of Claudia Hilda, which was a very moving dance piece. I got some thumbs up from people who were here. I see heads nodding. Thank you. Today we're presenting a talk with Mr. Wash, and for those of you who were fortunate enough to snag a spot in Meg Wolitzer's fiction writing seminar tomorrow afternoon, I'd love to invite you, but it has a very long waiting list, so maybe next time. We also just this week welcomed Jenny June Lee to join the cohort as well, and she's here too. So Mr. Wash is part of our residency program. He was recommended. Our residency program consists of recommenders. People ask the question, how do I get to be a part of the residency? The answer is, at present, we're not set up to maintain the robust demands of an open application selection process. So what we do in order to keep things fair and equitable is ask people from throughout the arts across America to nominate 1 to 3 artists that they feel would benefit from the opportunity of the resources that we are able to provide in our residency here. And a dear friend and colleague of mine, Helen Molesworth, who is a curator in Los Angeles, recommended Mr. Wash. So in a short period of time, over the last 10 years, Mr. Wash has created a wonderful career as an artist. He has shown at the Hammer Museum in Los Angeles, Deitch Projects in Los Angeles, and I think might be showing elsewhere with Jeffrey, perhaps, I don't know. But what you will hear today is the story of a really exceptional life, a life of really making the best with what you've got, when sometimes what you've got is not easy to make the best. I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna let you do your thing. We're so honored to have you here. Thank you so much.
Am I supposed to be talking now? I think everybody needs to focus their attention on this documentary. We're grateful to have We Transfer. They supported the making of this documentary.
The attention
as part of
the
my
President
life.
of the United States of America, Mr. Barack Obama. My father, Fulton Leroy Washington, has been incarcerated with a life sentence and physically removed from my home since I was age 2. It is through your representation that many African American families are able to find a sense of hope and comfort to the brokenness we live as normal in our own households. To bring this hope closer to my own restored reality, I write this letter in support of the clemency and ultimately freedom of my father from his incarceration. Having become a published self-taught portrait artist and teacher of the arts facing a life sentence makes this man not only a mastermind of power and unlimited capacity of giftedness, it also makes him an American hero.
He's home.
Let's see my wife, man. Look at my wife, man.
Welcome home, Daddy.
You know, I never asked you before. What's the best cut of the day, the first one or the last?
Right after I eat.
Oh my God, so I'm kind of caught in the middle.
Nah, you good. I'm still good.
I had several barbers over time. One in particular that come to mind is a guy named Jeremy. Nobody would let him cut their hair because, you know, he was just starting out. So I let him cut my hair. And however messed up it is, the line crooked or spots on it, I would walk the yard and defend him.
How long were you in prison?
21 years.
21?
You know? So basically your whole life, you know, while you was doing whatever you doing, becoming a barber, I was doing that, becoming an artist. In 1997, I was wrongfully convicted of 3 nonviolent drug offenses. The people that I was working for at that time were under federal investigation, and I was arrested as part of that group. They claimed that I had purchased chemicals to be used in a manufacture of PCP, but those places I've never been in my life. I was sentenced to life in prison based on my prior convictions. The judge didn't think that a life sentence was appropriate in this case, but due to the mandatory minimums, he was forced to impose a life sentence. I'm just so
Hey. I'm not cutting. I just wanted to say hi.
I'm gonna look at you and I'm gonna take pictures of your voice and your eyes.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to paint that one there. That smile, all of that.
Is she beautiful?
Ain't she? Huh?
I'm sorry.
If you're downstairs, please make your way upstairs. We have a special announcement right now.
This really is not just a show about me. This is actually something that was put together for you all. It's for the community. You know, I left one community incarcerated, and I come home to another community, and I'm sharing what God gave me to share with the world, and I'm here sharing it with y'all. Why is it that I went to prison, wrongfully convicted, and did 21 years? I asked him the question while I was doing the journey. He told me to look around. I looked around, and I painted what I saw the best that I could. These are the stories of an experience of people similarly situated as I was, of what they went through in life. What you see here is what I traded my life for, day by day. With all of that said, I want to thank each and every one of y'all for being here. I bought paintbrushes from another inmate. I had been watching and looking through the window of the guy's painting, and I wanted to try it. I stopped counting at 900 and something, but I averaged between 50 and 75 creations a year. While you're painting, sometimes you could just hear the world around you. And sometime in those very soft-spoken words of quietness, you're able to see images of a reality that is so profound that it comes out in the form of a painting. Yeah, so this specific piece, Cali car, I like in prison, this would happen now. Each little group is called a car. Like
okay.
what car you run from? What car you run with?
Okay, I got you.
So this right here represented Cali car.
Okay.
When I started to picture, both my son and I are both doing life sentences at the time. I just put me and him. But I started to take everybody who came from California that would bring me a picture and wanted to be in it. I would recognize their life inside the picture. And it just became the Cali Carbon. For me to give an opportunity, when you listen to their story, for them to talk about the 20 years, 40 years, 100-year sentences that they had to do, pretty much knowing they was gonna die in prison, and that it almost deems their life almost worthless without somebody reaching out, grabbing them, and putting them all together and say, hey, this is a real person.
These still are human beings.
Yeah, human beings, yeah.
What I see here is, I see Compton, I see Inglewood, I see LA, because these people are like people I see going up and down the street. And plus my daughter, her boyfriend and his brother was in prison at the same time. This
picture right here, man, I don't know, every time I look at this picture, man, my heart actually hurts.
I hear you.
I mean, it's hard. I mean, how do a father sit back and see his son? He never believed. If you read some of the letters, and he thought that
Pops, you crazy, man. You're gonna die in jail just like me. Mine was always on hope, and his was always on despair. But for me to get out and to be on the other side changed his life. I need to go in there and give him the hope that I gave a lot of the federal inmates, that his life has meaning. He's a real person. I would paint pictures for other inmates telling their stories and what's going on inside of their homes. So it became an avenue that built bridges between a reality and the fictitious world of incarceration. It became a bridge that built relationships between a father and a daughter, or a father and a son, you know, a husband and wife.
Watch, that's you?
Without a doubt.
God, man.
Brother Skull.
What's good, man? You know what's funny? Today is the day I went to prison 20 years ago. It's crazy, man, to see you out, man. We just in the park, man, just, you know, ducks and people, you know. One thing I never had in there, Watch, I don't know if you did, but I never had a calendar. I never counted the days. Half the time, I didn't even know what day it was. I barely knew when my birthday was. You know, a lot of people on the street used to be mad at me, like, man, why you didn't call? It was my birthday and this and that. You can't even.
You can talk about it, but you can never make a person feel it.
Yeah. Me, I just settled into the prison life, but you just knew that you was getting out, and I was like, wow, you know, Watch got a life sentence, man. And, you know, because I'm thinking that he's starting to lose it, man. And I think all the time, we was the ones that was lost. Because all the time you knew, you like, man, I'm going home, man.
Yeah. Emancipation Proclamation 2014 is the very last picture that I created and painted in federal custody. I had an opportunity through visions to prophesize my own release from prison as I pled to the president for mercy. Emancipation Proclamation was an inspiration by God that led me to the original Emancipation Proclamation that featured Abraham Lincoln dividing the territories for the slaves. I painted into the picture Obama in the place that Abraham Lincoln was. I took out the generals and I replaced them with Eric Holder, with Loretta Lynch. The painting ended up going to Neil Eggleston, which was the White House counsel at the time. And he shared it, and we believed that Obama saw it as well. And soon after that, I was granted a commutation of my sentence.
You have 2 new voice messages and 9 saved messages. New message.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Leroy. I'm wishing you one too. Happy birthday, bro.
I never questioned God on what he's doing with his time and what he's doing in my life. These images, he's the one that gave them to me. God had came to me in visions and dreams and in words that he was there to protect me all the way through. And he delivered on that. He delivered it. I want to thank everybody. I really appreciate everybody coming out to celebrate my birthday, to celebrate my first year out of federal custody being home, but also, you know, to be here to celebrate my daughter's birthday, which is 2 days after mine. So I just want to just give thanks to God to bless me to be here because it's almost like a miracle. You got ice cream? So I know what this is. German chocolate cake is my favorite. I have my own recipe, a spice ice in the middle, German chocolate size, German chocolate spice layer.
There you go.
Happy birthday, son. Happy birthday, daughter.
Thank you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
That's your own tune?
That's my own tune. That's how I get down, though. You know what I'm saying? Listen, because I made y'all, because y'all are half of who I am, then I could do that. I can say happy birthday to you. Huh?
And I'll accept it.
An off-tune little pitch, okay.
So, Lily and Bayon, listen. You know, my experience in prison, I witnessed a lot of fathers like myself
who had left their families behind. What is it like for a daughter to be raised up those years without a father?
It was, I think, a little harder for me when I was really, really young. I know that sometimes my dad would call and I would get emotional and I didn't understand why I was getting emotional. All the kids I play with, we don't really have dads. Our dad gone. You know, my dad in jail, something happened. My dad on vacation for a little bit.
That's the line.
Right, something happened. You know, my dad's away or my dad just not here. He's free on the streets, he just don't want to be here. And I think growing up without a dad, you idealize the parent that is not there. But when you don't know a parental figure and you grow up and you start learning the real life things and, you know, just parts of life that maybe don't feel good, it's hard to swallow. Those things affected me, and so it created distance. And so with that, by the time I was coming into adulthood, dad was a foreign concept. It almost felt like I don't have a dad.
Fathers are gone every day in our neighborhood. Yeah. We didn't grow up in a neighborhood where family and unity and marriage was something that was sacred and held down and held together and kept close. That's not what we saw. Yeah. I was 22 years old with a son to raise and not a male figure in sight. Yeah. Every one of my brothers was in prison. My daddy was in prison. My uncles are in prison. It's just me. Yeah. So when you ask what it's like, it's me taking my son to every prison you've been to from the beginning. He was born January 11. You were taken on February 14th. That's 1 year and 1 month. And it's not something that I take lightly because I drug my son to the example he had as a grandpa to prison. For 20 years, I did that. Every place they moved you, I drug him. In the snow, in the heat, it didn't matter. So when you ask me what it's like to be on the streets with my father in prison, as abnormal as it sounds to some, it is absolutely normal.
At 21 years of age, I made the best decision of my life and forgave my father for any grudge I had against him and let his love beyond my emotional walls into my heart. In the past 3 years, I have been able to attest to knowing the greatest man I have ever known as my own father. The most precious gift he has given me thus far is his unwavering and unconditional love. And I see this trait expressed from my father towards everyone. His way of loving people and the way he gives his all towards the best for others is not limited towards his immediate family, but it is truly who he is at heart. It is my hope that his story and ultimately his freedom becomes America's own example that there could be life, greatness, and powerful impact in our most troubling circumstances. We need our heroes, we need our leaders, we need our strong, educated Black men in places of influence and positions of guidance. We need our families restored, but most of all, we need our fathers. With great honor and appreciation for your consideration, greatest regards, Anisha Washington.
Happy birthday to you. Hey! Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday to you.
This is my new life as an artist, and I'm looking forward to the time to paint history and life as it's going on now from the perspective that's not covered by the media, that's not covered by the newspaper, more of an inside perspective straight from the people. I have to tell what's going on in the thoughts of my mind and create a storyline to my grandchildren and the unborn to know who I am and what I was and what my life stood for. Looking back, I guess that was the purpose, that I was able to walk that thing for 20 years. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank all of you for coming out, sharing your time with us today. I'm not going to say just for me because we're speaking for the whole the church, for the Sag Harbor Church. Sharing your time. I truly appreciate it. I respect your time. I do understand, I think we all know, that time is your most valuable asset. Always be conscious of what you spend your time on, who you spend it with, and what for. So we had opportunity to watch, I had to leave out. So we had opportunity to watch this documentary. I'm grateful for WeTransfer for help putting that story together, for the production team to follow me around for a month and to capture my family. When I heard my daughters talking, I had to get up and leave because I had to get up and leave before that because I cry every time. It gets so emotional because while I did the 21 years sitting in a box, my mind was not really comprehending what they were going through on the other side. The fact that there was no male figures in our family on the street, except for the kids, for 20-something years. I want to share with y'all now news that I just got that my son that was also serving life for a crime that he didn't commit, he got his life reduced to 7 years this past Friday since I've been here. I really believe that what God has done with my life has helped restore his faith and to put him on the right track, that there is a chance that life can come back. I'm really grateful to see. I haven't saw my son since he was 17. He's 51 years old now. So it's been a long time. It's been a long time. But I'm grateful for that. Now I'm quite sure that I'm looking at the expression of everybody's face. It's like 1,000 different expressions, right? To me, 1,000 expressions is 1,000 questions. So who's going to be first? I don't have a speech. Listen, I do not have a speech. But I can answer the question. Oh, there we go. Come on. So who got the mic? Give. You know, we're going to do this like they do on TV, right? Because it's like the price is right? So you're going to get a chance to pick between box number 5, 6, or 12. Come on. What's your name?
Star.
Star. Okay,
Yeah.
Star. Good morning, Star.
Morning. I'm glad you're here too, and I'm glad I got to see the movie. But I was going to say, is making art in prison living on double time? Is it twice? It's 2 dimensions in one, right? So is it?
You got to explain a little bit more. Come on, help me. What's the double time?
You're serving time, you're making art in that time. It's like if you weren't making art, it would be single time, but you're making time yourself because you're creating what stands in time, which will stay.
Yes, I could kind of understand what she's saying. What I do as a storyteller with a brush, I capture the moments in history as they pass before my eyes. So not just that I capture things that was going on in my life, I captured what was going on in the penal system. I drew a lot of paintings about courtrooms and those procedures. Enormous amount of inmates, hundreds and hundreds of inmates. I listen to their stories, and when I hear the words, it turns into images. And then I'll paint that. It's the best that I could. I just always, whatever I do, I give it 100%. So, yeah, thank you for that. Yeah. We got a whole lot of hands coming. We got to need more microphones. Y'all got to get some more mics out here.
Hi, back
okay.
here.
Come on.
Hi, thank you for being here. Did you have artistic talent, and did you spend time practicing art, painting, before you were incarcerated?
That's what's your name?
Lisa.
Lisa, that was a real good question. Did I have artistic talent prior to? I'm going to have to say yes, because I was a contractor. I did room additions. I built public buildings, train trestles, courthouse, prisons, the jails there in L.A., the Staples Center, the 105 freeway. I had the talent to draw blueprints and shop drawings. So to me, that's artistic talent to understand the size of lines. When I took that in high school drafting and learned the difference between a 3, 5, 7, and 9 pencil, the composition of those pencils, all that led to. The human form is something different because there are no flat or straight lines in humans. Everything has a curve and an intersection point. So that transition of learning how to capture that type of emotion with a pencil, I kind of mastered that before I ever got a chance to paint. Yeah, so I do have some artistic. I think we all do. Public school taught us that everybody had to have an art class. And we go in there and you get the little rice and beans and you put things together and make the Thanksgiving turkey. And we got to do George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. And these are all things that slowly, for those that can remember, is how the talent is developed. You get a basic introduction, then it depends on what you do with it. You know, the same with everything else in life. You know, you go in the kitchen to cook. I cook probably better than I paint because that was something we had to do on a daily basis. So I have a lot of experience in cooking and tasting and taste food, and you could tell what flavors and how did they cook it, you know. And so the things that I learned as a child, you see that inside of my work. The things that I learned as a machinist, when I did machine work and metal fabrication, you see the details and the structures and stuff that I paint. Like, say, the picture here I'm working on, I laid concrete for so many years that doing that, you know, this picture's not done, but I can, when I'm down there painting it, it's like I'm on my knees spreading the mud. And I know what they expect to see, and if I don't see it in the painting, I'll try to go get it. That was a real good question, thank you. I didn't mean for such a long answer. Come on. Who next? Here we go, right here in front. I can hear you, but we want everybody to hear you.
Thank you. I found the documentary very moving. It made me tear up also, by the way. And your work, very impressive. And following up on the last question, I wanted to know if you received any kind of guidance while you were in prison with your artwork. What kind of paint did you use? Was that oil, acrylics, or and you know, was there any kind of support for encouraging you to do what you did there?
I'm gonna say just a yes and no answer, right? At some point, it was like there was no encouragement. It was actually a rejection. But I was persistent. And then once I did get in, and the skills that God blessed me with, I was willing to share. That's a place where a lot of people don't want to share anything that they have, their resources, their contacts, or anything. I'm willing to share everything that my life have with everybody that it can help. And so with that attitude, it did open up doors. And the person that comes to mind right now is Leonard Peltier. Leonard Peltier is an Indian. Some of y'all may know of Leonard. Leonard was accused of killing 2 FBI agents back in the 70s. But my grandmother's an Indian, so as a child, I knew of Leonard. I never, in all thought, would ever think that I would be sitting in a prison cell or in a prison art room, and Leonard is there. When I found out who he was, I was like, wait, my grandmother always be talking about you when I was a kid growing up. This where you been all that time? You know, he been in there like since the 70s. How long would that be now? Yeah, he's looking, he's up right now to, I'm with President Biden for a pardon, and he's with the president for compassionate release. But yeah, so this help came, and he's one of the first early on to give any type of assistance and guiding me in the right direction. And along the way, people that be grateful enough to allow me to look over their shoulder, I'm the type of person I can learn a lot just by watching. And then in art, there are no mistakes. So what happens, if you make the wrong color, it don't mean that it's bad. It's just another color that you just learned how to make. It might not be the one you want right now, but so in that trial and error, you end up with thousands of combinations of how to get there. And I mean, when you look at this artwork that you see, I mean, everything we look at, keep in mind that there's only 3 colors, red, yellow, and blue. Everything else you see is a transition. So the combination of how you put it together, which one you start with first and then you bring in second, and back and forth will determine what color comes out. So, yeah, there was help. I'm grateful for that. Next person. There we go right here.
Do I push anything? Can you hear me? Thank you for being here.
Okay.
It's been wonderful. And this is another art question. Did you teach when you were there? Did you become a mentor and a teacher of art to the other people with you?
I did. Her question is another one that brings back memories that it took me a while to get into an art room. I used to look through the window and watch the people paint. I was restricted from going into that area. And so one of the officers saw me always there looking through the window. And he said, "You always said looking through, you want to go in?" I'm like, yeah. And he takes me in, and I get a chance to look around, and I was put in application to be the next person in. When you can't go in until a seat becomes empty, and a guy did leave like 5 or 6, 7 months later, and I got a seat. But once I got in, as I started to learn how to do, I would go back to the people outside and tell them the experience and share that. And I became the art instructor at each prison that they held me in. They actually gave me a complete classroom at 2 prisons, and at the 3rd prison, they gave me control over the whole hobby shop, which is about 2 times the size of this space, this building right here. Yeah, and there I had classes 2 times a week that I taught the inmates to try to give them something else to do and to show them how to not just to spend their time more wisely, doing something constructive, but how they could use it when they're out of prison. There was a lot of opportunities for graphic design, for illustrators, and so forth on, and a lot of them were a lot better than me. You know, they had better eyes than I did. I think what I'm blessed with is the creativity part. I see things that other people don't see, and I'll make an attempt to try to bring that to life. Yeah. We got a hand coming up.
There's a Danish sociologist, I can't remember his name, it's something like Bent. He studies Americans, which apparently is something you can have as a job in other countries. And he's identified, he says that roughly a third of the American population, I think he calls them chaos agents. They are people who just want to burn stuff down. And it's concentrated in white men and black men. Anyway, that's a whole other conversation. But like, you don't strike me as someone who wants to burn shit down. How do you come out of that experience not filled with rage? Or do you just channel it? Like, how?
Okay, tell everybody what your name is.
Mine's Erling, yeah.
Roland?
Erling.
Erling,
yeah.
with an E. Erling that was a good question. When he first started out, he said that, you know, the white men and the black men, that they want to burn things down. It reminded me of the 60s when they had Montecure. I don't know if y'all remember that. Some of y'all are old enough to remember when you had the Watts riot back in 1965. I actually lived in Watts in the projects there during that time, and it used to come on the radio, "Burn, baby, burn." It had nothing to do with the riot, but they took that man's career because of the slang tongue. But to go back into the direct answer of his question, that how do you go through what I went through and come out and don't be a person that's angry and upset? Well, first of all, we have to realize that we all, with no choice, right? We all are spirits of God experiencing life in human form. Without the choice of gender, race, even the 5 senses that we were giving to protect ourselves, the eyes to see, ears to hear, the sensation to be able to touch and tell temperature through just by touching or being in the atmosphere of. We're all spirits of God experiencing life in human form. And each experience is up to us to determine whether that experience is a good one or a bad one. So if you follow the norm or you're influenced by somebody, it could be in a bad experience, right? Or it could be a good experience. But if the spiritual side of your life is the leader, it's neither good nor bad. It's just an experience. It's part of what living this life is. Because in the end, we all end up in the exact same place. We all gonna die, and our bodies are gonna stay right here. So then what happens to the spirit then? If you didn't fell in love or you spent your whole entire life angry about something that you had no control over. I realized that before I went to prison. So entering the prison, to me, was like, okay, God, why you got me here? I asked him the question 1,000 times. I never committed the crime. Why am I here? And like I was saying in the video, he told me, look around. And I saw that people were living in fear. They was afraid of each other. The police was afraid of the inmates. The inmates was afraid of the police. The gangs was pushing pressure back and forth. And to me, I looked at all of them and smiled and said, man, y'all tripping. You know, I had to explain to them that this institution, a penal institution, is no different than a college or anything. You got the exact same thing. We got commissary, we got a library, we got a rec yard, we got a sleeping houses. It's no different than any other college you go to. Now, what you do at your time at this institution is up to you. It's your choice. A lot of people used to ask me about my attitude, why I'm so happy and this and that. I could never, in my days, I never was afforded the opportunity to go to college. So when I found myself forced into it, I made the best of it. So I was able to walk through there and not be angry because I accepted only as an experience. It was a good learning curve. I had a chance to meet people from all around the world. I was able to share myself with people from all around the world. While I was in prison, I pretty much touched almost every country. I was in federal prison. So federal, you got everybody coming. People come and don't even speak English, and they still stuck in there for 15 or 20 years. And I was able to do artwork of them and send it back to their country. So I have a lot of work around the world that precedes me during that time. That was an opportunity that the average artist on the street don't get. But I don't know how to be angry. You know, and just I don't know how to carry that burden of being mad at anybody for anything. You know, I was the last person in my family born on a plantation, but I'm not angry about slavery. Slavery is just part of what humans went through, and the black people are not the only ones that was enslaved. A lot of my Asian friends and Japanese friends, they were put in the same prison I was in. You can see their writings on the wall, you know, and some of them managed, some of them still hate, but hatred is, listen, hatred is a very complex part of the 7 deadly sins that they talk about in our religious books. And if you allow it to grow, it would destroy not just your life, but all the lives around you. And I know that, but it's the same thing, going in, sharing love and peace and helping people, changed every prison that I was in, and they moved me to another one. I was the first lifer they moved out from the penitentiary into the FCI complex, part of an experiment, because I was changing the penitentiary. People were sitting around painting instead of sharpening knives. They were sharpening pencils. And the warden like, you gotta get you out of here, man. You know, so, yeah. Did I answer the question? I just rambling. Okay. We got another one right here in the front row. Oh, we got one in the back.
Yeah, you talked about community. You also talked about people who were not sharing, were trying not to share, and you did. I wanted to know how the people that you were with accepted your art and accepted you.
You know, in the whole complex as a whole, or we want to go prison by prison?
In general, how did you build a community starting in a place that people were trying to be to themselves?
Okay, let me think. because each prison has its own obstacles. But let's go back to the first prison, United States Penitentiary Leavenworth. I painted a picture of a young black kid holding up the American flag. It kind of goes back to, I can't hardly pronounce it, Early's thing, right? Here it is, a young black kid with his pants sagging down, underwear showing, can't see no face. He's just standing up, holding the flag up. The flag is on fire. It's burning his back, but he won't let it go. It's kind of like that a lot of the African-American people with the 400 years of slavery and all that, they continue to support the United States in the government and believe and trust in the laws and stuff. That prison, I painted that picture, and it made the front page of their newspaper, the whole front page of the Kansas City Star. That caused big problems with a lot of the Southerners down there. They have a black person on the front page of their paper. The guards start to treat me really, really bad, cuss me out, and they didn't receive my art. They didn't receive it. But the inmates did. The inmates thought that and saw there was something very different in what I did than that. Art program been going on inside the prison for decades. Some of the artists that was in there been in that same art room for 30 or 40 years, like Leonard Peltier. He was there when I got there, and he was there when I left, you know? But the art that I brought to the table was something different. So it was received by the majority, but then you had some at that prison that didn't like it, and most of them was staff, right? Second prison, FCI Florence, they're right across the street from Timothy McVeigh. That prison, the people on the streets, artists on the streets in LA, got behind me and they opened up a thing called Art in the Garden. They saw the work and thought it was a photograph. But they found out that I was in prison painting. They started having art shows trying to raise money to pay the legal fees. But they made calendars, these big poster size 30 by 36 posters that you could tear the calendar off the bottom and use and frame the artwork. And they sent them to the recreation department. It's complimentary. Well, we had one guard there that didn't like that. So he went and tore all the calendars down out the whole prison, came and cussed me out and started harassing, took my artwork and walked on it, put boot prints on pencil drawings and all type of stuff. I wasn't mad. I couldn't get mad at my material thing. I could draw it again. I had made a lot of mistakes in the drawing that nobody saw, so it gave me an opportunity that I could sit back and you know, and get it right. But overall, that prison there, they also did, in the end, despite that, they supported me and they gave me a job inside of the art room so I'd never have to leave. I'd never have to mix in. I'd just stay there, clean the windows and do whatever and do my work. And not just that, but the public start to see the work, because from 1997 all the way through to now, every month or every quarter, I was in a newspaper or a magazine somewhere in the world, just from the art that was coming from prison. So that helped build a career that I'm having now. It didn't happen overnight. It didn't. Somebody asked the question earlier, like, I've been doing it for 20 years, and how did you just make it so forward? Well, no, listen, I've been doing this for almost 30 years now. So maybe in 10 years you'll catch up. No, but it really started in prison, that people recognized that it was something different about the storytelling that I was doing. I never tried to do anything that other people have done. I look for what's not done and do that. And that's what, in teaching art, I don't teach people how to paint. I teach them how to see and how to be creative. Yeah, I just teach them how to see. Most people don't paint it because they don't see it. Like today, you know, I was working on this picture and I've just started going in there finding shadows. I'm just looking for every solid object. If a person, place, a thing, it has to have a shadow. I mean, look at all of y'all feet on the floor in the chair. Without those shadows, you couldn't tell where the light is coming from. And most people paint and they forget about shadows. So to answer your question, so I don't keep rattling because I won't stop. Yes, the artwork was received majority, but you always had what I'm gonna call haters at every step of the way. Yeah. We got.
I just would like to ask, you began painting in a moment of obviously intensity in prison. How has your perhaps approach to painting changed now that you're painting as a free man?
Listen, who are you?
It's Sarah Cochran.
Sarah, listen, that right there was a great question. Listen, in prison, Sarah, listen, in prison, I think I was more prolific in prison. Because every week in prison, 2 or 3 paintings are going out the door, right? Now I'm in here with 8 kids, 27 grandkids, 7 great grandkids, meeting about 100 or so people per week, right? And all the different stuff is taking up so much of the time, the mental time. Because you got to get mentally involved into the work. You just can't just go paint a picture, especially if you're painting something that you're creating something. You're not just painting something, you know? The approach is totally different here. And there I had 2-hour spurts and not knowing if you're going to be able to come back, so you have to paint different. And there the paint was so precious that you only put pinheads down at a time because it takes 3 or 4 months to get some more once you run out. The whole approach is different. The creativity is more expanded because I have more access to different elements and things that I just didn't have in prison, you know, like atmosphere, like able to walk and spot that spot here at Nivea Beach and take the picture and say, it's something about this painting, this element. I don't know if anybody ever painted that trail before. This may be the first one, it may not. But I felt something there, and I got that picture, as well as the tall grass which was growing over by the ocean shore in the swampy area. Found that. So I'm finding new stuff to paint here that I don't have to go through magazines looking. And the internet is vicious. That thing right there, you just ask it the question, it'll give you almost the whole answer. So it's the whole thing is the whole process of painting is starting to be transformed now that I'm out. And I hope for the better. I hope for the better. Yeah. We got somebody on the right.
Hi, Mr. Wash. I was just wondering, could you tell us about the organization that you're raising funds for in Compton?
Oh, we should have a slide of that. I don't know. Could you do a slide? If I was to drop you something like that, airdropped it to you, could you do this? Put that thing on? Huh? No, I got it on my phone. Wait a minute, I gotta unlock it. And turn it off of airplane mode. I'm learning something. You know, I'm still trying to figure this phone thing out. This thing is miraculous. It's like when we used to look at Star Trek, and they'll pull the little thing out and like, hey, Scotty, beat me up, man. This thing here is great. But okay, let's go right here. That's tell me who you are, sir. Okay, so look, Larry just came up with something really, really good. Search 915. Okay. Get that right there. Okay, so Larry just asked me to explain about the organization. So since I've been out of prison, I've been blessed to still with the same spirit that I had when I was in prison of trying to help people and trying to make people's lives better. I came out and started to have the art career started to kind of bloom, and I was able to acquire half a block of the city there in Los Angeles. And so now we are getting ready to build a community center that's a block long. It's called the Art by Wash Studio and Community Center. It's going to be a residential space for people returning home from prison who's been spending their time like I have. Some of the hundreds or maybe thousands of people that I taught while I was in prison, they do have release dates. I happened to have life when I was there, but they had dates. And I told him when I left that I'd be preparing a place for him. So this, oh, good shot. So this is the area that we bought where it says 9/11. We bought all of this from here all the way to here. And I have this part right here in escrow. It comes out of escrow on the 16th. And then it'll only be 2 more pieces of property to buy, which is these 2 right here. And we have the whole block from the canal to the street. In that space, we're going to create living quarters, affordable living, to try to help with some of the homeless situation. We're also going to be having extensive art programs going on with the colleges, El Camino College, Dominguez College, the Compton Unified School Districts, and the Los Angeles Unified School District, as well as Metro, has all started to align themselves with this ideal that I come with, thinking a different way in how to help the people. Try to give some of the children what I was giving when we had art in public schools, when we had creativity, not just being trained to fit into the employment industry complex. Schools today seem to train people for the jobs that the government predict is going to come out, and they get them ready to place them inside of their boxes. I never had a box. My parents did not teach me that. They told me to watch the birds, the insects, and so forth on, and you'll know what's good to eat when the bad weather's coming, and so forth on. So watching the news for the weather, not the same. But this is a space that we purchased, and we're trying to. I'm selling all of the art that I have, everything that I have, all the money that I've accumulated through donations, supports from the T-shirts and everything is all going into this idea of helping not just the people in Los Angeles, but this is an international thing. This is people I helped supported people in other countries, all across the United States. When you come there, you'll feel at home. You won't have that type of division that we have in the prison, that we have in the neighborhood. So this is like a project site. I don't understand all the things that the architects did in putting this together, but they mapped out the whole art district for Los Angeles, which includes the Hammer Museum, LACMA Museum, the Huntington Library Museum, and every place that artists show, and showing how Art by Wash project, this project here, works with the city to make it more uniform. Slide it up to the next one. And so it kind of points out where we have the museums. We have a museum here. We have the college here that's supporting. We have a cultural city. We have a gallery here. This is all LA County. This is the county area, right? And we have the Compton Walk, which they built in my absence. During the 20 years I was gone, they built this, the Dollar High Center, and they do have like community art shows and stuff there. So we'll be working in conjunction with all of these people, both mayors, Mayor Bass and Mayor Emma from the city of Compton, as well as the previous mayor of the city of Carson. We all are working together trying to help put this thing together. Go to the next one. So they have the Compton Art Walk, where they have this outdoor community space where artists come and set their tents up. We have like 2 or 3 of those in the city. So it's pointing out that there's a need to have a physical building in the city that could teach art, teach the children, and that the public could come out and experience, like what you're doing here now, having the church here now. So we're trying to get something like that on the West Coast. Go to the next one. So the ideal, you kind of go past that. That's more of the metro space. So this is our design number 1 that we came up with, is to take this space right here and develop it into this space, which is a 3-story building that has the living quarters inside. It has its own garden. The rooftop of that building, go to the next slide, give us a different angle. The rooftop has the kitchen, and then you have patio furniture and everything on the 3rd floor on the roof, so you have the outdoor dining at night. The building that's on the corner becomes the movie theater wall, so you can invite the public in to watch movies at night, show the kids things, to give them something to do. The city of Compton currently do not have anywhere for teenagers to gather because of the gang violence, but they never gave them another option or something else to do. and that's been a problem. You know, when I first got home in 2016, they had spent about $6 million building a building right across the way. It was all written up with graffiti, and they keep repainting the building. And so they asked me to come and do a mural over the graffiti. And I'm like, well, why is the people painting on it? I don't know. Every time we paint it, they just come and tag it back up. We thought if we put a picture on it that they wouldn't do it. I'm like, that's not going to stop them from doing that. Do you know who did it? They're like, no, we don't know. Have you ever talked to them? No. So it's that fear of them not doing so. When I come out like, wait, but hold up. I don't know how to read that game right, but I know some gangsters. Y'all come over here and tell me what it say. Who is that? Let's find those people who's writing on the wall and put them into a class and design a piece of art and let them paint that on the wall. They won't go back and mess their own work up. So we went into the neighborhood. We found the people that was doing it, and we invited them and put them all together and let them put all their minds together. So all the argument and back and forth that they had, you got to figure it out now so we can get over there and paint. Okay, you Crips and you Blood, or you paint on this side and you paint, and y'all paint on this side, but we're gonna paint this thing together. That's what I had to do in prison, so I come to the street to do the same thing. We got the building painted. We painted the Compton Cowboys and everything the things that they cherish. They put it on. It's their wall. It's their neighborhood. You built your building in their neighborhood, but without saying anything to them, without giving anybody in the neighborhood a job. And you expect them to just sit back and no, you making them feel that they're nothing. So I went in, pulled them together, and we got the job done. Go to the next one. Is this just different views of what it would look like from the street? We've transformed quite a bit away from this ideal and to make it more artsy. I think in the creation, when we get this thing started, we're trying to break ground this year. We will get historical siting for the place at its construction. It's so far advanced in the design-wise, it's nothing like it in the city. Go to the next one. We took this and turned it into this to give it glass ceilings so we get ambient light that you could paint. These are living spaces that the artists, these three little things here, are actually, these are apartments, studio apartments, live spaces, with the bedroom on the second floor. It's 3 stories tall, glass ceilings with shutters on. You can shut it out. You got ambient light to come in so you don't have to cast shadows that bother me to death when I'm painting, when the sun go to one side of the room. So this is kind of like how we're putting that together. Move up one more. And this is another one. We have a corridor. In this design, we have a corridor that runs from each building all the way back around into the main building. So during the bad weather time, you don't have to come outside to get wet. Once you're inside of one, you have a back corridor that you can move all the way around and through. So that's what we're working now to put that together. And thank you, Larry, for that. That was a very good question.
We have time for about 2 more questions.
Okay, we got 2 more questions. But before we do that question, I want to say I didn't come here to solicitate, but since I'm here, yes, we do need help. We do need help. If anybody is interested in helping with this program, please reach out, you right? And you could do that by buying the art. You can just buy some of the artwork. Jeffrey Deitch has it at his gallery. We got 32 paintings that's up for sale. In fact, this one right here that I painted here is up for sale as well. Everything that we're doing, I'm trying to get that done. That's what this effort is. This is why I'm moving around as we try to get this done. I'm 70 years old, so I don't have a lot of time left. You know, for all of y'all, a lot of y'all are pretty close to my age. Some may be older, younger, but if you live to be 100 years old, it's only 36,500 days. It's your choice what you do with your time. But if you look at a chart that I do have, I keep it with me pretty much at all of my desks and everything, I'm getting close to the end. But I would love to see this project come to life and have time to enjoy it and get it up and running right before I pass away. So if anybody want to help, I'm grateful. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Who
is the lead on this project? Who are you working with?
I'm working with UCLA, right? So UCLA, the Morpheus Institute, Jeffrey Deitch. Jeffrey Deitch is pretty much the lead because most of the currency has come through his sales of my art. So.
So what is the website? I saw 3 websites, from the film to Families Against.
Okay, so that's.
Minimum, and your website, it's Art by Mr. Wash?
No, it's just Art by Wash. artbywash@gmail.com, and Help Us Help Wash is a 501c3 for people that need to move their money through the nonprofit sector. That's done. The website is not complete. I got to get somebody who know how to do it to help me, load up all the information, like all these different talks and newspapers and stuff. I don't know how to do it. And so the guy that I had, I lost him, so yeah. So we have a Help Us Help Wash website. We have an Art by Wash website. And the lead on the project is, I would say, the Morpheus Institute, which is the architects that's designing. They donate their time to design the building to be a functional building. They're doing blueprints and everything. In fact, just a minute ago, I got an email from them. They put together a fundraising campaign now, waiting on me to get back so that they can launch that with Jeffrey Deitch at the Jeffrey Deitch Gallery in Los Angeles on the closing of the show. Yeah. Okay, we had 2, he said 2 more people. We got about 4 or 5, come on.
Mr. Wash, nice to meet you, and thank you for sharing.
Oh.
Big fan of German chocolate cake as well.
Pardon me? Oh, you like the German chocolate? Okay.
My
yeah.
favorite. You touched on it a little bit, but who taught you to listen to your heart or to nature? And what is it that you advise others to sort of nurture that intuition and that spirit and faith that you have?
What's your name?
Alex.
Alex, you should be a prosecutor, right? See, the prosecutors always ask compound questions, so if you answer one, you really answer both of them, and then they get you hooked. So the first question he asked was, who taught me that? My grandmother. She's Cherokee Indian, and my mom. They taught me to listen, not just to nature, but to listen to people. It's people who's matter. Things don't. And to get a person, to help a person to achieve that is quit, how would I say? I got to say it in a sense that works in today, right? So you have 5 senses. Quit thinking that everything that you see is real, especially when you look in the mirror. You look, like now it's not even a mirror. They got the selfie thing. You see everybody walking around like taking the selfie because that's not you. Like right now you might have a BMW or a Volkswagen outside and everybody know that you got the green car and they see it go by there and there go Alex. No, there go his car. So that's the same as when you look at a person. Some of y'all that's older, remember what you used to look like when you were younger. That should be a clear enough example that what you thought was all that really ain't who you are. You're still the same person inside that body. So we are spirits trapped inside the body. And the sooner that you understand it, everything else around you start to be not as important as you thought it was. You're not as beautiful as you thought you was. These relationships that last this lifetime are because people, their souls and spirits connect. And it don't matter how old you get. Don't matter how crippled you get. You're still going to be in love with that spirit that's inside of that person without the physical attributes. So take the physical attributes and just imagine you without that. I need to tell a quick story. How much time I got?
We pretty much are out of time.
Okay, well, I think
one last question.
I think that, okay.
Question or a story? What would you prefer? All right.
Out into the world. How did Jeffrey Deitch get you, or the Hammer get you? I mean, you're in prison, and how did they find out about you?
Fair question. That's a fair question for a lot of artists. I think, was you the one that asked me that earlier? Okay. How did it get into the world? It's a combination. A lot of things are not singular, right? It's a combination. For one, like I was mentioning earlier, when I was in prison, the first year I made the front page of the newspaper. And then I continued every quarter to be somewhere. Somebody found interest in what I was doing because what I was doing was not what everybody else was doing. One guy told me, he said, a lot of these people spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to go and get an art degree. And when they get through, they can't do nothing but paint apples and oranges and boxes and flowers. You know, exactly what they teach you in class, and that's it. So the classes are not teaching you how to think. So my thing is that I don't teach people how to paint, I teach them how to see and how to be creative. And I think being different is the thing that put me where I'm at now today. Now, as far as Jeffrey Deitch and all these other galleries, the museums, and all these different people, when I got out of prison, I would have knocked on their door, and they told me no. Every last one of them. I had a whole list, about 150 places I was going to visit. I did my research and stuff. And everybody told me in prison that my work belonged in the gallery. So I went straight to the gallery, and they said, this ain't the way. You can't get in like this. You got to go do community work, and it may take 20 years. I said, well, I already did 20 years. I did it in prison. Shit, I'm here, And they didn't want to see me, And then one day, I was invited to a show, and just, no pun intended. I was the only black there. And I came into the show early, 30 minutes, 45 minutes early, because I didn't want to be late. And I came in, and everybody, when I came in with my son and my grandson, no matter what art I looked at, everybody that was looking at it, they left. And they over there looking at something else. And I go over there, and then they left. And they did that for 45 minutes. And then I found myself in the little room where the movies was playing at, and even in the dark, they looked back and seen us in the dark, and they took off. And so we just stayed in the room. Well, the person who had invited me, her name is Tala Mandani. She's an artist, an international artist. She invited me to her solo show. And all of her friends were the Getty Museum, the Hammer Museum, Lackman Museum, all the major galleries, Tagosian, and everybody was there. And all these people that ran from me for 45 minutes. And then me and my son, we was sitting in the dark. We done watched the movie like 7 times, the little reel. And then all of a sudden I heard a chatter of noise. And I told him, I said, hey, Tala's here. He said, how you know? I said, you didn't hear the atmosphere change? You didn't feel the vibration change? You better never go to prison. You end up dead, man. You got to feel your surroundings. So we walk out, and sure enough, the whole crowd was all around Tala. I didn't get close. I stood back. If y'all was a crowd, I'm back probably this far away. Me, just the 3 of us. We just standing there. And she's just hugging and kissing. They doing their selfie thing, taking pictures. And she happened to look through and see me. And she had a baby tied to her. She's Iranian. So she had a baby tied up, the little bitty baby. And when she spotted me, she just took off through the crowd and came running across the floor and dived in the air. And I caught her. At the same time, security running toward us and everything, and I'm trying to pull her arms down. And she's crying, and you came. And then she grabbed me by the hand and took me into the middle and said, this is him. This is who I've been telling you about. And everybody's face turned red. And to me, that's my story of how I believe it all happened, because they never imagined that it was me that painted the pictures that they had looked at, even though all the pictures they looked at were paintings of me. But from that point on, she basically demanded that they give me do a show with some of the artwork. And from there, I had the choice to get with a gallery. It was like either David Kadoshian or Jeffrey Deitch. And some of the people advised me that if you want a lot of money real fast, to go with Kadoshian. If you wanted a career, go with Jeffrey. I wasn't thirsty and I wasn't hungry. So the money is not a factor. Like I was telling you earlier about, don't make your decisions be based on one of the deadly sins. Greed, wanting a lot of money is a deadly sin. To want to have more than what you can use, to hold on to it just because that you feel comfortable that I got it. So I didn't choose that one. I chose to build a career, something that could establish the ability to put together what we was just looking at, you know, something that would last. And so that's how it all started. I got there through that experience, had a conversation with Jeffrey, which lasted about 2.5 hours over the phone. And then later he had opportunity to look at some of the work, and we sat down and put together a strategy of how to move forward with a career. So, yeah.
Thank you so much for coming out, Mr. Wash. It's been such a pleasure having you share your story with us.
I can't hear you. I didn't hear you.
Thank you so much for coming out. It's been such a pleasure having you share your story with us, your journey, the experiences, and just being able to present it all, and just really incredible hearing you speak. So thank you very, very much. We're just absolutely delighted to have you here as a resident, and please, to give it up for Mr. Wash.